I'm Dr. Joey Faucette for Faith Positive TV. We're talking this week about remember this when you're afraid at work. Our scripture passage for the week comes from 2 Timothy, the first chapter, the 7th verse. Paul writes to Timothy, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline." You know, there's a lot to be afraid of these days at work. There are shootings, sexual assault, offending someone, being offended by someone, a layoff, a salary reduction, the company being bought, a stress-induced heart attack. Makes you afraid just thinking about that list, right? Paul commissioned Timothy to continue the missionary work to the Gentiles. Timothy apprenticed for a while under Paul and then went out on his own. Kind of scary going out on your own. I mean, a lot rides on your work. Think Timothy was afraid? A little bashful about his work? Fear makes you timid. You doubt yourself. You hesitate to seize an opportunity and the door closes. You back up instead of move forward. Paul writes to Timothy and the rest of us in Faith Positive Nation, God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity. You see, fear is a creation of your imagination. Timidity is your behavior in reaction to that imagination. You create fear and timidity, not God. What does God give you instead to counteract fear and timidity? Remember, these three God gives for your work the next time that you find yourself afraid and timid. First, power that overcomes fear. Power from God emboldens you to do that which you think you can't, or at least your imagination tells you that you can't, in the face of what may happen. That's really what fear is, after all. It's an imagined reality, what might happen. I mean, I can imagine myself right out of doing business God's way. Dark thoughts pile on, paralyzing my God-ordained actions. You too? Of course. Evil's ultimate battlefield is your mind. All God-directed activities start and stop right here. God's gift of power defrosts that paralysis and revs your spiritual engine to find another gear and travel the best highway for spiritual and business success. So remember, you have God's power that overcomes your fears. Second, love that overcomes timidity. Fear makes you timid. You freeze, considering a million possible outcomes to your work, most of which will never happen. And yet your imagination convinces you that they could, and you stammer, you stutter, and you stop. You're timid. God's love is the perfect antidote to timidity. Such love frees you to remember that you're in God's presence always and everywhere. You remain connected to God in a very intimate way, regardless of what work throws at you. God's love releases you to act, make mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. You discover such mistakes are lessons, and rarely are they fatal. Remember, you have God's love that overcomes your timidity. And the third gift, self-discipline that overcomes both. God's power emboldens you. God's love energizes you. These twin divine gifts bust work fear and afford you a self-discipline that calls the best from you in times of chaos and confusion. You lead anchored by God's power and love from a center within that magnetizes your coworkers to want more of what Jesus brings to work: faith, joy, and love. They're drawn to Christ in you. Now, you discipline yourself to point away from you to Him, recognizing Christ is the source of your newfound power and love. Your reactions transform into responses, spoken truth with a power and love from above. The darkness recedes, the lights shine, fear and timidity are gone, power and love appear, self-discipline guides your team to Christ and an increasing faith with greater joy at work, so they love God and others more. So remember, you have God's power that overcomes your fear. Remember, you have God's love that overcomes your timidity. And remember, you have self-discipline to keep the power and love flowing on the job as you work Faith Positive, even in a negative world. For Faith Positive TV, I'm Dr. Joey Faucette.
Catch every episode of Faith Positive TV when you subscribe to the Faith Positive YouTube channel.